Everyone, Madon from Struck Posture said today's video is about 5 tips to be awesome during CAS as an aircrew or pilot. This will be demonstrated on the A10C2 platform, equipped with a TGP training loadout, just BDU and LGTR. Doesn't matter for this one. Although it's on the A10C, you can reproduce most of those tips on your own platform. The first tip I'm going to talk about is use your autopilot. So currently we are over Kutaisi Air Base, and that's going to be my target area. We have two target areas. Let's say you will understand why later. We have this complex on the southeast and the beacon on the west. So you want to overfly that. I'm currently at 16,000 feet. My engine is about 85%, my speed 220, 230 knots, roughly. And so I want to set my orbit with a back angle and altitude hold mode, just as I am right now. So the waypoint is on Kutaisi currently. And I had to do a small edit here. So the airport is at 3 o'clock and I set up with the wind taken into account so I don't drift away. My bank angle is 25 degrees, so I don't end up masking the TGP with the wingtip or the pylons. As you can see, it's perfectly clear view here. It's a bit ahead anyway on the runway. And so the good rule of thumb for the bank angle is about 20 to 30 degrees max, and that's it, you're steady. Mind you that the A10C doesn't have the best autopilot out there. I think the Mirage and F-16 have better options, but that's another debate. And that's it, your hands and your brain is free to focus on the mission. Also, it's gonna be better for your fuel consumption. You see, my fuel is gonna be very stable at 1500 pounds per hour, and you will save a lot of loader time with that. That's very important. Also, it will save you from all the usual beginner mistake of going through some block of airspace that is not yours, going down, going up. That's very dangerous. However, we are not in a perfect world, and sometimes you will have to fly a bit to avoid clouds, but you should immediately activate autopilot when you are out of the weather. Same goes when you want to do racetracks or 8 figures holding patterns. You will have to execute the turn. You will have to change the state of the autopilot during the turns and the straights. But, well, you can manage that. It's just some switching on and off. So that's the first tip. You see, just steady into the overhead on the autopilot so you can write down stuff and focus on the mission. The second tip is to use your own eyes before using technology within the airframe. So that can go for HMD, TGP, TAD. It's actually even easier to pick up mobile targets by using your own eyes. So here I'm a bit high. I'm at a good altitude for the TGP. It's about those 15,000 feet AGL. If you want to use your own eyes, you should go down to, well, 15,000 AGL and below. Obviously, it's gonna be hard here to distinguish some vehicles. I can see some shiny stuff, but I would have to use my TGP to see what it's what it is exactly. But I could still track them moving, just with my eyes. I could pick up the dust if they were moving. And I'm sorry I didn't have the example, the mobile example. Here I can see the radar is turning, but usually I'm telling you, in most campaigns I can pick up the dust better with my eyes than with the TGP. When I have two targets, I put the TGP on the most static one, if it's a building, for example, and I can monitor the second one with my own eyes, seeing if there are any vehicles coming in. Usually I do that just to see if there are vehicles moving around, not particularly on a static target like this, but I will just look in the fields like this if there are any mobile tanks, just reinforcements coming in. The deconfliction can be better with other assets. You can see by yourself, tracers, mortars, maybe. It's gonna be more situational awareness. You're gonna be able to see other assets, missile launches, so you can deconflict yourself accordingly. That's just to avoid that screen fascination, putting your eyes like this on the targeting pod and just not using your eyes. Third point is to come prepared for your session. And that means knowing the brevities and calls for your ground lasing, IR procedures, keyhole. Also know which grid system you will be using and understand how to input it in your aircraft. So example, here we are gonna go on the CDU page. Let's create a new waypoint. So waypoint number 9, you can see it, I'm at MGRS grids right now. I could use lat longs if I wanted to with decimals. So let's get back to MGRS. So first you have the elevation here, right? In feet. Then you have the grid zone, which is 38 Tango. The datum, which is WGS84. Not important here. And then the most important part is the eastings and northings. So here we have the square of 100 kilometers, sorry, which is kilo Mike. Here we are not gonna change that because I'm pretty much confident that this waypoint is on the airfield. Let me check with the HMD. Yeah, it's right on the airfield. It created a. I was using the waypoint 8 before I switched to a new waypoint, I think. So let's focus on the digits. You have 10 digits, so we have 1 meter precisions on the last digits here, right? So what's great with the A10 is that it's gonna split your numbers if you have less than 10 digits. I explain that by example. If I give you 6 digits, you will have 100 meters square precision. So I will say, for example, 9016731. That's just an example, right? And in the A10 you can directly input that. It will already set up the zeros for you. It's so easy. And look, where is it on the ground? It's about, yeah, it's on the apron. And that's how it works in the 8, and that's great. But in other platforms, for example, in the F18, sorry, I know that the guys have to input the zeros by themselves. So example, I give you instead of 10 digits, 8 digits. You will have to input 91650, and then I will say dash 73150, and you need to input it like this. Or if you want to input the 6 digits, that's how you do it. The system will not do it for you in the F18. I know from MAV that it's not the case. So you need to think about that. You need to be prepared to use that kind of format. So that's one point. The other point is prepare yourself with the reference point. So when you open your map, you know, when you prepare your session, you want to look at what's the layout's gonna be. So here it's a pretty big giveaway. You know, the runway is west-east, so you know everything is north here. It's easy here, but if you look at something else like a very complex target area, if you look at something like this, it's gonna be a lot more complicated. But already I can see there is a river here that's gonna be the northwest roughly. So it gives you some tips. There's also this river here, which is north-south. So there's always something that's gonna help you find out. And that's it. So third point, come prepared with reference points around the target area and know what grid system you're gonna have to use, how to input them in your aircraft, and know the brevities, all that. The fourth point I want to talk about, write down and store all the targets with labels. The JTAC will usually label the targets so we can reuse them for reattacks, and that's very important. You need to be creating waypoints if the time allows, but at least have it on papers. On the sideline, work with some abbreviations to write down faster. But just don't be all over the place, and so you can quickly find a target back to reattack. Fifth one is to clear any doubt. So you're teamed up with a JTAC to neutralize targets in the safest and best possible way. And you need to be 100% sure of what you're gonna have to do with what weapon, what setting for the fuse, the heading, the clearance, the airspace. And I know that's a lot of things, but it will all come together if you listen carefully to what he says at the game plan, especially for weapons. And then just don't suppose anything. That's the rule of thumb here. You need to remember, never suppose anything by yourself. Always make sure with the JTAG that you're on the same page. And that's pretty much it. And I hope this was informative. If you have any comments to do, feel free to drop them in the comments on the YouTube section or over the Discord. And don't forget to book some sessions before the end of the month. I would be happy to answer. And well, see you next time. Thanks for watching.